Hey everyone, in today's video we're taking a look at the first round of the winner's bracket of the second Discord tournament. The first match was me versus AD123465. I was with Black here, and the first blunder happened over here when he, instead of recapturing my bishop, went with the knight hitting my queen, but didn't realize that I had this move where I'm simply up a piece. This knight is hanging, and my bishop will be able to retreat if it doesn't capture it. So he retreated the knight, I retreated with my bishop, and I was simply up a piece. His retreat with the queen here also wasn't good because I could just pick up the knight, which is what I did. The game ended with mate that I delivered in this fashion. I went here, he went there. I controlled these squares so that I could put my bishop over here, controlling this, and then delivering mate over here, which is what I proceeded to do. In our second game, I had white, and I went here. He should have captured with a pawn or done something like b5 over here, kicking my bishop. However, he went here. That's a mistake because he's blocking the b pawn. Now this pin is simply unstoppable when I push my pawn, which is what I did, winning a piece. The game ended with a simple mate in 2 over here, and that's how I won that match. Then the match between Codeman303 and the BC Wonder happened. This position came about where Codeman was with white. He went here, attacking the rook. It's not so evident how to defend against this. If you go here, then the dark squared bishop just simply takes the rook. However, the computer finds knight a5 to be good for black, even after bishop takes rook and knight takes bishop. However, bishop d7 was played, and now white was much better up an exchange. However, white threw away the advantage by playing here. There are not sufficient defenders of this square, and black took advantage of that, continued to gobble down the board over here. And here they should have just taken this pawn, and after rook f1, queen b7 was good. However, they went here. Still, they are slightly better according to the computer. Then the position got really complicated right around here. Codeman should have played knight b3, retreating the knight, and that seems like such a natural move. However, he played here instead, and this was a blunder. It's not so easy to see how to punish this. Queen c6 is the move, and after a4, queen c5, check, king h1, a6, knight a3, e4. And there's the threat of this over here, so the queen gets out of the way, pawn takes pawn, and the best thing for white to do here is auto-pinning the rook. However, that's an engine line, it's not easy to see at all. And instead, the BC Wonder played a great move, playing over here, hitting this, and this all at the same time. However, there is an answer to this. You can just go knight d6, protected by the pawn, and then you're also blocking the attack of the rook. Let's just remember that white here is up an exchange, so losing an exchange is not the end of the world. However, he went here, attacking this queen, and that was a huge blunder after something like queen c6, queen b8, or bc8, hitting this knight. Instead, black went for this, allowing a trade to happen, and then white was completely fine. After those trades, the BC Wonder should have seen that this pawn was a threat and should have gone here with a king in order to catch it. However, instead of that, he played here, blundering immediately, and after pushing this pawn, the only way to stop it is just sacking the bishop. Now white was up a knight and proceeded to win from here. The second game already started funny, Codeman with black playing here, giving up a pawn right away. Then in this position, Codeman should have just retreated the bishop. Instead, they went here, which is a blunder. This bishop is threatening to go over there. And after he gets taken, white is simply up a piece. The BC Wonder gave back the piece later. However, afterwards he simplified to a winning pawn endgame. He's up a pawn here and displayed a very good technique, winning this in the fashion I am showing. Finally, he promoted and then delivered checkmate. by a ladder mate. In the final game of the match, the BC Wonder blundered early with black by playing here, giving up a pawn. Codeman went here instead, which is perfectly fine, and then proceeded to trade this knight with a much better position. Then the BC Wonder played this terrible blunder here, opening up this diagonal for the king. These pieces needed developing. There's absolutely nothing developed for black, whereas white has a lot of space control, piece activity, everything you can ask for, aside from being up a pawn. And here things got really, really bad for black immediately. Then Codeman proceeded to win the game like this, delivering mate. Then Tucker Josie faced Electric King in the winner's bracket, and this position came about here. Tucker Josie played e5, a very good move. Now the only move for black is retreating this knight. As bad as it looks, that would be okay. However, he went here, and now g4 simply traps the knight. Instead, Tucker Josie played here, and now Electric King was out of trouble for the time being. Then Eli decided to push over here. This was a strange decision considering it gives up a pawn. And then he played queen f3, blundering this pawn in the center. And there was a blind spot for both players for a while where they didn't see this was hanging. Then this position came about where Eli got out of check by moving the king. Now you'll see the purpose of this move next. Electric King went here. This was a mistake, this check. Now bishop takes, the correct move. And black can't take because of what happens afterwards. Took here and got the queen pinned to the king, which was probably Eli's idea when he moved the king over here. Now Electric King interposed the bishop, and this bishop can be taken right away because if queen takes, you have another pin over here. So that would be good for white, simplifying the position. However, he went here. This was a mistake, missing the win. Now, here Electric King can castle. And the point is that this pawn gets immediately pinned, so can't take the bishop. And this bishop is hanging right here. The knight would no longer be pinned to the king. So black is actually much better after something like this. Let's say you retreat the bishop over here to protect it, and then the queen gets out of the way by maintaining this pin on the pawn so that the bishop can't be taken. However, Electric King didn't see this resource that he had, and he played here, blundering again. Then knight d4 would be perfectly fine. Either that or just taking this bishop, where if the queen takes, then you just pin it back again. But Eli went here, and this was a big blunder because, again, black can castle long. Now it comes even stronger here because what gets pinned is not a pawn, but it's this knight, and it's getting really ugly for white. He's going to lose a gross amount of material here. This is still hanging, and this knight would be pinned, so it would get attacked from everywhere, and black would win. Instead of that, Electric King played over here. Then Eli took the free bishop with check, took the pawn with check, went here giving this check, which is about to simplify the position at the very least. However, if the king moves over here, you have something even better by forking king and queen. And if the king goes over here, there's this check here, and then a sequence that would eventually lead to mate. Apparently, it's a pretty long sequence, but again, if the king goes over here, then the fork of king and queen is good enough. And in this position, Electric King resigned. The second and last game of the match had an opening blunder, and it ended right there. When after this sequence of moves, Electric King played queen a4 check, giving up the queen, and resigned immediately when he realized that both players were blitzing out their moves. They ended up with a lot more time than they had at the beginning of the game. So that was the reason why this blunder was made. And thus, Tucker Josie sent Electro King to the loser's bracket. Then Mindset and Dead Can Z played for the final game in the first round of the winner's bracket. And the Damiano defense was played. Here you can actually take this pawn, and afterwards you go over here and you're winning if they take back. Actually, after you do this, they are not forced to take back. They should play something like Queen E7 and be sort of alright. But white is still much better. However, Dead Can Z went for normal development. And this position came about where these pieces are in this really terrible configuration. Here, the bishop is hit by the knight, so if you do this, then you're not winning anything because the knight can just simply take the bishop. However, if you take this knight over here, then now you can fork and you're completely winning. Instead of that, Dead Can Z simply retreated the bishop, and Black was not completely fine, but not that much worse. Then Mindset was already much worse when they played here, and this allows a tactic with Queen H5 check, and let's say G6, for instance, take with the knight. Of course, if the pawn takes, you take the rook. And let's say they try taking with the knight, then they get checked over here, and after something like this, they get mated. However, nothing of that sort happened. I mean, this wasn't a forced mating sequence, only it's forced if after this you take here with the knight. Actually, the best move in this position is to take here with the pawn and just lose the rook over there, losing an exchange. But that wasn't played. Dead Can Z just took back here. Actually, this was another great move, just giving this check supported by the rook. You already are forcing the king to an uncomfortable square, and trouble ensues. But this is the move that was played in the game. Then Mindset played this move, which was a mistake, allowing bishop f7 check, and let's say the king steps in front, which is actually the best move, and white would take the knight with a discovered check. And if, for instance, the king goes over here, there's this check, and after something like this, there's this, and even this is actually completely winning, because if you take the queen over here, that's mate in one. So, yeah, that would allow for a lot of tactics, but that wasn't played. Dead Can Z played here and threw away all of the advantage in one move. Actually, here, black is much better after taking over here. The queen is protected by the knight. However, Mindset played over here, blundering the queen right away. Dead Can Z didn't even take the queen. He went here, which is also completely winning. I mean, this is still here. Then there's also a discovery right here. And in this position, he should have gone for this check and just captured the queen. Instead of that, he went for this, which is still winning. Went there, and he was completely winning, and the position was significantly simplified. However, he went here, and that's not only a free pawn, but actually it allows black to hold this position. However, it was missed by black, and Dead Can Z corrected his mistake right away and proceeded to win the game from there. In the second game, Mindset with the white pieces fell for an opening trap in the Ruy Lopez with this move over here, grabbing the pawn, which wasn't free, with the bishop staring at this over here. Dead Can Z punished properly. He's threatening mate, and he's also threatening the knight. However, a move like knight g4 allows white to stay in the game. Let's say after this, then you can block this check like that, and then you are sort of safe, even though much worse. However, he went here and just lost the knight. It all went downhill from there, as in this position he played here, and black can actually take this knight, which Dead C did. Now, if the king, let's say, if white decides to capture here, then this is completely crushing. So he saw that and he moved the king instead. He should have gone here. He went the other way. Dead C played properly to punish all of white's play with this pin on the queen. And finally, there was this fork where Mindset resigned, and that's how Dead C won the set. That is all for the first round of the winner's bracket of my second Discord tournament. If you want to join our Discord, link is in the description below. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.